Hello everyone, my name is Hillary Resnick and I am going to be doing a presentation today on Neisseria gonorrhea. All right, isolated by German physician Albert Ludwig Sigismund Neisser in 1879, the bacteria Neisseria gonorrhea is of gram-negative diplococci species, and he was able to do this because in 1878 he took samples of pus from 35 different men and women with symptoms of gonorrhea. Um, and other scientists, Leistow and Loeffler, they were able to grow the bacteria in culture in 1882. And Max Burghardt proved that the bacterium Albert Neisser isolated was for certain the cause of the disease gonorrhea. And he did this by infecting a healthy man with the bacteria. All right. All right. Neisseria gonorrhea, it causes the sexually transmitted disease, gonorrhea, gonococcal ophthalmia neonatorum, and it is preventable and curable, and it is one of the oldest sexually transmitted diseases, and it's been around since ancient times. All right. Um, Target populations that the WHO has developed guidelines of infection regarding diagnosis and treatment for include adults, people with that are HIV positive, adolescents that are aged 10 to 19, and transgender persons as well. All right, complications of untreated infection. If left untreated in females, complications can arise such as pelvic inflammatory disease, ectopic pregnancy, and infertility. And if mother passes the bacteria onto her child during childbirth, it can result in, excuse me, neonatal blindness. And transmission occurs through vaginal, anal, and oral sex, and it is common for males and females both to present as asymptomatic. However, gonorrhea can cause infection of the eyes, the throat, and the genitals. But if left untreated, infection can spread to the rest of the body. All right, diagnosis. An individual can be diagnosed through gram stain, nucleic acid test, culture, urethral swab, cervical swab, but nucleic acid amplification test is the gold standard for the diagnosis of gonorrhea. All right, taxonomy. All right, the domain is bacteria. The phylum is Pseudomonodota. The class is Beta proteobacteria. The order is Neisseria. Family is Neisseriaceae, and genus is Neisseria, and species is Neisseria gonorrhea. All right, morphology. Neisseria gonorrhea is a gram-negative bacterium that is in diplococcal arrangement, and when viewed under the microscope, it has a kidney bean shape. When in blood, agar, or medium, colonies appear small and gray in color, and the colonies that are produced are non-hemolytic, and the shape is a spherical or oval, and about 0.6 to 1.0 micrometers in diameter. All right. All right. When viewed under the microscope, the Neisseria gonorrhea is arranged singly or in pairs, and a concave adjacent side, and um, fimbriae may be present. However, it is non-flagellated bacterium and is non-motile. All right, range. The pH requirements of Neisseria gonorrhea range from 5.8 to 8.0, and maximum growth is observed at 7.0 to 7.2 in the lab. And also the area that you can find Neisseria gonorrhea most prevalently is in the Pacific Western and the African regions. All right, habitat requirements. A human is the only natural host for Neisseria gonorrhea. It is um, it cannot live if exposed to temperatures that are extreme or if dehydrated, and it cannot survive outside the host. It colonizes in the rectal, genital, and oral mucosa, and there are many factors that help allow it to survive and replicate in these environments, and others that help it bypass the host immune system. But it replicates by making contact with the mucosal epithelium, and it can be transmitted to new hosts. But it must adapt to changes in its environment of the host, rectum or oropharynx, and in the genital tract in order for it to survive and replicate. All right. In order to get the nutrition it needs, Neisseria gonorrhea, it must interact with and compete with resident microbiota for the nutrients needed. And the human host has a limited amount of nutrients that gonorrhea requires to meet its nutritional needs. So, but some of these required nutrients are iron, zinc, and manganese, and they help protect against bacterial pathogens. But Neisseria gonorrhea, it has an optimum temperature and grows best at 35 to 36 degrees Celsius. All right. All right. It also grows well on a chocolate agar medium, and it produces small translucent colonies, and it's capable of either aerobic or anaerobic respiration, and is oxidase positive. Um, Gonorrhea, it's difficult to grow in the lab, but it has a complex nutritional requirement, and it grows in a blood agar medium. And a chocolate agar medium is used to cultivate Neisseria gonorrhea in the lab. And the other medium used for Neisseria growth is a Thayer-Martin agar, and it is a selective agar that allows Neisseria to grow while also inhibiting other organisms from growing as well. All right. All right, life history. All right, gonorrhea, it is also known as the clap, and disturbingly, historians say that in order to remove the pus from the penis of an infected male, um, it had to actually be clapped on both sides. That's extremely disturbing and creepy. And usually, what they would use to get this done would be two books. And so, anyway, then there's those also historians. They believe that that the name the clap that it originated out of French brothels called, I believe it's pronounced like Le Clapier, and but I'm not positive on the pronunciation. But anyway, so the many of the men that frequented these brothels, they would often contract this disease. So that's where it is thought to have gotten its name. All right. All right, and mercury, it was it was used as the earliest treatment of gonorrhea, and many special surgical tools were found aboard an English warship called the Mary Rose. And these tools, they were used to inject mercury into the urethral opening, or excuse me, the urinary opening. And silver nitrate was used as well in the 19th century. And then it was discontinued, and Proterol was used in 1887 by Bayer. All right. All right. So the first vaccine was prepared in the 1890s, and it was made from killed gonorrhoeae, and it was taken from Neisser's lab. And in 1909, the vaccine was introduced, and excuse me, and metals were also used as treatment, such as gold and bismuth and arsenic. And finally, in the 1940s, penicillin came about. And at that time, or at the same time, other antibiotics including sulfur compounds, sulfanilamide, sulfapyridine, and sulfathiazole came into use. And gonococcus isolates resistant to penicillin arose in the 1980s, but patients were finally successfully treated with spectinomycin. All right. All right, signs and symptoms in women. All right, gonorrhea is preventable and curable with antibiotics, and contracting gonorrhea increases the risk or likelihood of getting and spreading HIV. And the cervix is the area on the body that is primarily affected in women. Um, and symptoms are usually mild, but most women are asymptomatic. Um, if symptoms are present, most women don't even notice them at all. And but there's little known about the how the immune system responds to gonorrhea during asymptomatic infection because of the lack of observation and difficulty in diagnosing asymptomatic gonorrhea. But when a female does display symptoms, sometimes it can be mistaken for a bladder or vaginal infection. Um, and around 10 to 20% of women who are infected with the disease develop complications such as vaginal discharge, dysuria, that's pain when urinating, and abdominal pain. And some women, though, experience vaginal bleeding as well between periods or during sexual intercourse. During sexual intercourse. All right, signs and symptoms in men. In males, around 95% are symptomatic, and there is an approximate 2 to 3 day incubation period. And then symptoms and complications appear, including a purulent discharge from the urethra and dysuria. And this discharge is a white, yellow, or greenish in color. And some other complications in men are painful swollen testes and infertility. And some other complications in men that could develop include periurethral abscesses and prostatitis. Um, Also, there is a significant increase in the risk of having prostate cancer in men who have had gonorrhea. And those individuals considered to be at high risk are those individuals with multiple or many sex partners or those that have unprotected sex. And there are about 78 million cases each year, but it's actually unknown how many people or how many cases there actually are because of the amount of people that are actually asymptomatic, and so it's left untreated and it's left undocumented. All right. Gonorrhea, Neisseria gonorrhea, it has hair-like pili, surface proteins, and lipopolysaccharides on its surface. And pili help with sticking to surfaces for attachment and help facilitate movement and DNA exchange. And the pili proteins and lipopolysaccharides, they work to inhibit immune response and make a symptomatic infection possible. The bacteria use pili to stick to and penetrate the mucosa to enter the host. All right. Neisseria gonorrhea has some of the strongest biological motors known to date, and it can pull up to 100,000 times its own weight. And pili are used as a hook to grab onto a substrate or surface. And pili are also necessary for the bacterium to cause infection. And Neisseria gonorrhea can avoid detection as well and attack from the human host. And that's a huge feature of its host adaptation ability. The bacterium is typically seen in pus cells and found intracellularly. In a specific category of white blood cells with varying shapes of nuclei. And the bacterium relies on transmission between hosts by means of sexual contact to spread the pathogen to risk groups and their partners. All right, well, this concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.